Hi again, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Dead Men Talk. And we are continuing our delve, like we have been doing in this series, down the creative rabbit hole, as it were, with another very special guest. And again, someone I've had the privilege of sort of discovering their work for myself only recently, but through through the medium of social media and the beauty of people like yourself putting your music out there for everyone to enjoy. Maryen Cairns, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris. Good to be here.
Cool. I'm glad to have you here because I say, obviously I should have mentioned, obviously singer, songwriter. I am very envious of people like yourself, to be fair, and I've said it on more than one occasion when I've had guests on the show that can write music like you do, and perform, and you've got the confidence, you've got the talent and everything, because it's something that I would love to do. And I think what I'm really interested in through the course of this, like my show is mainly about, is just to really find out what makes you tick, what inspires you, what's put you where you are today, and sort of delve behind the stories behind the stories, as it were, the story behind your story. So for this, let's kick off. For anyone who's not familiar at the moment with yourself and your work, just in a nutshell, just sum up who you are, what you do, and then we'll kind of delve into it from there.
Okay. Well, I'm Maryen Cairns, singer-songwriter. Well, I've kind of been around a long time, I guess, because in the late 80s, I was in London for kind of 10 years, where although I've always performed original music, and that's always been my passion, actually writing music, I got a little bit more known as a singer at one point when I was like, I was working with people like Fish, ex Marillion.
Yes.
Yeah. And,
very impressive.
And people like that. But even then, it was really nice that he recognized me as an artist and took me on. I went on tour with him, with my band, supporting him. The first acoustic tour he did, and supported him at Hammersmith Odeon and stuff like that. So it was really fun. And I basically come from a real original music background of just being really passionate about that. But of course, one of the things I guess is that I was born in Scotland, but I immigrated as a child to Australia, and that's where I grew up. And then I came back to the UK for a 3-week holiday where I was really
I love this,
my grandmother in Scotland. And of course at the time, then I kind of just I had a meeting with this producer, Colin Thurston. He said to me, "Well, if you're serious, you're going to come and live in London." And it was as simple as that. I went, right, okay, well, I am serious, and I'm going to stay. And he lent me like a guitar and a 4-track at the time. Wow. I was living in a basement recording,
That's amazing.
But then I did go back to Australia, and I brought up my kids there, and I've only come back to this side of the world sort of almost 3 years ago, and now I'm in Guernsey.
Lovely, yeah. Like we chatted just before this, the second straight guest. It's not like I'm conquering Guernsey or anything like that. It just happened that way. I think that's where all the talent lies, obviously. But let's sort of wind it back then to the beginning. There's a lot to unpack with yourself as I've been doing my research and that. I think you've got a hell of a story that you've lived already, really. So going right back to the beginning in terms of music and your relationship with music, where did that start? Was it a childhood thing, do you remember, or was it something that you made a conscious decision to go into at some point?
Well, my family were really musical. Like my mum was trained to be a flute teacher and played piano at a very high standard. My dad but played violin, and he was actually a Church of Scotland minister when I was born. And he had this youth group, and apparently he used to play guitar and sing Bob Dylan songs to his youth group.
Wow.
So I guess I've always had kind of music around me, although my parents were more into classical music. But it's like, I think the thing of going to church every Sunday and singing, it was the singing I really enjoyed.
Okay.
That's kind of a bit of an expression, I guess sort of breath or something, but it was kind of fun to sing. But it wasn't until like I did music at school and stuff, but it wasn't until I think I was 13, and we were suddenly told, right, go away and write a song in Greece.
Okay.
And I was like, what's she talking about? I can't write a song. What is she talking about? It's like, huh, I'm just going to do this. And I sort of strummed a chord and sang like as a joke. And
Right.
it was like, it just sort of happened. It was
Okay.
a song.
Wow.
And,
That's really cool.
and it was quite a revelation to me that this was something I could do, because look, I'm in awe of you because you're a writer and you write books. And to me, that was when I was a kid and stuff. That's what I thought I would do, is go
Okay.
and write the longer stories and write the
Sure.
books. But so it's quite interesting that what I do seem to do is write micro stories. Really, it's like each song is a story, and yeah,
that's what I love. Actually, I was sort of turned on to folk music when I moved down to Devon. Quite big down there. I hadn't really been exposed to it before, but then you had, a few artists in particular that were around at the time that I really became inspired by, and it's the narrative in the songs. It wasn't just singing about a broken heart or things like that. There was actually a story going on, and I found it. I could immerse myself in that a lot more, because there's almost like more of a meaning to listening to the song start to finish, because it's actually telling you a tale. Is moving on to your own songwriting then, just quickly, are you drawn to sort of traditional kind of, as we say, folk music, sort of writing folk songs with a story, or do you pull on personal experiences? So what's your main source of inspiration?
well, look, I kind of pull on all sort of areas, but I have to say that I've always been fascinated by stories, and by other people's stories, and by folk stories, and here, and I have found that in various things, when I got into particularly okay, just to diverge a little bit, I suppose, I did this album Femina Australis, which really is the story of 12 Australian women. Some of them are Indigenous, some of them are immigrants, but it was that I didn't really know what I was doing at first. I went to a museum, and I heard the story of how Kate Kelly, who was Ned Kelly's little sister, the famous bushranger Ned Kelly, and I heard the story of how he actually became an outlaw, and it was all really for his little sister and protecting her honour from a drunk policeman. And that's actually how he got outlawed, him and his brother.
Okay.
Nowadays, I mean, it was a totally unfair sort of thing, the whole thing. And after that, well, he did what he did and everything. But it's like that fascinated me, that it was actually this story about his little sister. And I ended up researching that in a really big way. I bought this really old book about it, and I really went into the whole story. And I discovered, of course, how history is so confusing, because every story, everybody writes it slightly differently, and you don't know what the truth is. There comes a point you have to choose what version of the truth you're going to use.
I got you.
Yeah. But basically, from writing that song, then it took me into I ended up doing this whole album about different Australian women, and actually researching their stories. It was and having to kind of find an angle but stay very, very true to history, was a really different experience for me, and I really liked it. And so I've done quite a bit of that as well, because otherwise what I tend to do, I suppose, is I'll hear a story, but then I'll twist it, or I'll take something that happened to me, but then I'll change it a little bit, and so
poetic license,
fiction blends a bit.
Well, that's, as a writer, that's what you do. The amount of things I've pulled in from places for mine, I suppose. You could say, if you break it down, no writer's work is their own, truly, but it is in that sense of the word. That album, actually, that was one of the ones I wanted to talk about. You touched on the sort of the history behind it, in terms of the backstories and everything, and it was staying true to, I guess, the theme of why I started this podcast, all about stories behind the stories. So that kind of answers that question. It was sort of looking at, I mean, this was your fifth album, I understand. But it was
Australis, yeah.
Yeah, was it produced by one of the Rolling Stones producers? Is that right?
Yeah.
That's quite impressive. Quite impressive, very impressive. But sort of, how did that come about then?
Oh well, Chris is a really lovely guy. Well, it's quite a funny story, really, because okay, I was doing these gigs in London, and I think well, I think okay, fairly early on, I did a gig at the Bull and Gate in Kentish Town, which is like the tiny little pub next to the Town and Country Club.
Mm-hmm.
It's like the little pub there, and after the gig, my friend introduced me to her friend. She brought along Dennis, who said, "You've got to meet my friend Chris. You've got to come now." And he basically I ended up, he was a limo driver, and I ended up following him in his limo through London,
Right.
to Fulham, to the studio Maison Rouge, and his friend was Chris Kimsey, and he was working on an album there. And I mean, by the time we got there, I think it was like 2 a.m. or something, and but they were fully at work. The band was recording, and they're all there. So I ended up basically in this control room, or actually not even the control room. Came out of the control room into the lounge, and singing Chris these songs. I had like a demo tape as well that he put on, but he liked it when I just sang and played guitar.
Yeah.
And it was just one of those weird things where it kind of clicked, and we stayed in touch. And so I think that must have been about, oh gosh, I don't know, 1988, something like that.
Okay.
Really,
Wow.
a long time ago.
Yeah.
But yeah,
quite a time before the album then. So that was
long time before
the
album.
That's cool.
But you see, I recorded my first single, "Too Young to Die," on his studio time. I think it was actually Rolling Stones Downtime in the West Side Studios in London. So he put me in there to record the song, and it was because of Chris I ended up singing for Fish, because he was doing that album. He said, "What this song needs is Maryen's vocal."
I do.
Yes,
Not going to turn that down.
Yeah. So it's like I kind of so Chris was a really big part of my kind of creative life. He was just someone who I stayed in contact like over the years, even after I was back in Australia. And sorry, I've got some making noises here.
That's
right.
Technology.
I remember sending him. I think I'd recorded a little album, and I sent him a copy, and I remember him ringing me up when I was like, I think I'd dropped one child at school and was kind of driving and getting this phone call from him in the middle of the night in London, where he'd be like, "I've just been listening to your album," and so what I'm trying to say, I guess, is that we kind of kept in touch, and he liked what I did, and so when I began doing this like I wrote Kate Kelly and a couple of songs, and I really didn't know. I was really kind of floundering. I didn't know if it was any good. It was quite different. I was really into it, but I was very isolated. I was living on top of a mountain in Queensland, southeast Queensland.
I know.
Off the grid little house.
Yeah. That's amazing. You're the first one that I can actually say, lived. I've actually got it written down, I think, from your biography, lived on an off the grid mountaintop. Everyone's dream. So
but I was like, oh my God, I just need some outside influence. I need somebody to listen to this, somebody who I trust and would tell me what they think. Because that was the thing too. Chris was always really honest. If he heard a song of mine, he didn't like it, he'd just go, "No, what else you got?"
Okay. You need that, I think.
And he was one person, he never said it like as an insult. So it wasn't like I never took offense. He sort of went, "Oh, okay, next song." So he was a person that I felt I could go to, and it would be okay.
Cool.
Yeah, I could ask him what he thought, and I get an honest answer.
Awesome.
So I contacted him, and I sent him some songs, and he really liked them. But he came back going, "What are you doing? What are you doing? This is hysterical. What are you doing?" And he was like, he's like, "Are you writing a musical? What are you doing?" I was really confused about what I was doing.
Right.
And it was almost like, well, I didn't quite know what I was doing myself at the time. So kind of talking to him, and then the different songs I was writing helped me put it in perspective.
Okay.
You know, that
Yeah.
that actually it was very women focused.
Yeah.
It was very kind of folky, like it was very real sort of instruments and yeah. So that's and eventually there came a point, and I literally I've been talking to him for about I think at least 2 years by the time it came up, like, what, you know, would he actually help me finish it, because I was recording at home, you know, just my little studio we have here, you know,
Yeah.
keyboard and microphone.
Very cool. Very cool.
Yeah, and he was like, so actually it was worse than that. I went to a council workshop, you know, for like for artists,
Yeah.
and I guess I was probably the only musician there, but it's like it was Gold Coast, Queensland, and they had a sort of art guru come up from Melbourne who was and when I sort of told him what the project was and stuff, what I was working on, he just went, "Oh, what a shame you've written all the songs. Oh, what a shame. You should have just written about one woman. You can't write about all these women. Oh, what a shame you've written them already." That was his attitude.
Okay. You can't please everyone.
Yeah, and it kind of really devastated me. I said, well, that's what I'm doing, and
yeah.
you know,
yeah.
I'm a bit set in my mind, and I've really decided, like, you know, I've got
Fair enough.
something, and I've organised. I get very, very determined that that's what I'm doing.
Yeah, yeah.
And but so I decided not to bother about him, but I felt really, really sad, you know.
Yeah.
Really sad.
Yeah. That's the first sort of challenge to it, I suppose. But I know kind of that make you more determined in a way to, you know, that this is definitely what I do with it.
Well, what it did kind of was take me out of my comfort zone. I was so at rock bottom that my husband said to me, "Well, why don't you ask Chris Kimsey if he'll help you finish it?" You know, he you know, and I was like, "Oh, he wouldn't want to do it," you know. And then I was at such rock bottom that I just wrote him an email.
I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah, and he wrote back saying, "I'd love to.
There you go.
Let's do this."
There you go.
You know, and so from then we figured out how, and I did a lot of recording. All my own stuff was done at home, and then he helped me complete it. So it's like, yeah, that's how that happened.
It's very cool. Yeah. I do like. I mean, I know some artists don't like to sort of describe their work as concept albums and things like that, when it is kind of what it, you know, it tells. It's got a full narrative that runs through it. I do love that, because I think in this day and age, albums are quite easily just a collection of songs. You don't appreciate an album for being an album now. But I mean, I must admit, I'm very much, you know, I will listen to an album start to finish, especially if it's tied together in some way. So, you know, that kind of thing. There is still a market for that. I think it's brilliant when you can sort of knit something together like that. It's no, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. And a couple of other sort of points of your work that I wanted to bring up, because, you know, firstly, not the kind of things that I would have with previous guests that I can say they've done, but also just showing really how inspirational some of your stuff has been. So going back to Too Young to Die that you were talking about, I understand it was taken up by Nickelodeon in America to for, what was it, an educational roadshow for AIDS, is that right? Do you want, sort of, you can probably discuss it a bit more, but that's pretty, that's a pretty strong thing to say that you've been involved in, surely.
Yeah, well, I only found out really because I was trying to find out. Somebody told me they'd seen it on MTV, and so I rang them up from London at the time, right. And tried to find out, have you played it, you know? And it turned out, it was part of an educational roadshow they were doing in the States, taking it into schools, and I suppose teaching teenagers about AIDS, about HIV.
Wow.
And yeah, so it was part of that. At the time, I understood it was also banned by the Washington Wives or whatever, because there was a very, very
Okay.
strong but because again of the subject matter, because well, I
Yeah.
mean, when was it? It was the very early 90s, 92.
Hmm. Yeah.
So it was just So yeah,
That's
I was.
something. Yeah. I mean, how does that make you feel as an artist? Obviously, probably not something that you intended, direction you intended it to go for, but does that sort of validate to you that your music is then doing something?
Yes,
Yeah.
it does. It's a big sort of validation, because you know um you know I work very much alone when I write and stuff. I have done a few collaborations, but it's
Mm.
pretty rare for me to write as a collaboration. Really, I tend to so when something is actually taken by somebody else to help with something particular,
Mm.
it means a real lot to me. Like at the same sort of time, um, one of my neighbours died, and I was asked to sing it at his funeral.
Oh, wow.
And
Okay.
and it turned out I hadn't known at the time it had become their song, and his partner was playing it to his sister when his partner died,
Right.
and stuff. And so it was and when you hear something like that, it's like, well, my God, that's kind of why it was written.
Yeah.
But it's like, yeah, it's a very moving thing,
Yeah.
as
That is. Yeah.
yeah.
You've reached a whole different plane there, rather than it just being like, a top 40 hit or something. I think that's something that then, means something to a lot of people on a different level. That's brilliant.
Well, I wouldn't know what that's like.
No, no.
There's
But
still time.
it's still time, but do you know, in a sense, do you need to, if you've had that kind of, that kind of experience? It all depends what you want to get out of it, I suppose.
Well,
But
no, because it's like, obviously I've discovered that I need to create. I need to keep writing. That's really like in my soul. It's
mm,
part of me. I just have to write.
yeah.
And I have to sing, and I have to do that. So that's why I just keep going.
Why not? Is there a time of day that you're not writing, except for when you're asleep?
Well, I've still got children. I've still got teenagers in the house, so it's like, yeah,
Uh,
there's quite a bit of a day
yeah.
I'm not, but I'm often thinking about it.
Okay. There you go. Have you got a particular sort of creative process, or somewhere that you go where you can really sort of zone off from the world and just write or compose or whatever? Or have you got ideas coming at you everywhere?
Oh, well, it depends. Um, my favorite place right now to go to and write is actually Sark, which is the little island between
Yeah.
here and Albany, really.
Okay. Yeah.
But I don't actually get to go there very often. But when I do, I have found that I can just kind of walk out to some wild sort of headland and sit and look at this amazing thing and pull out my notebook. And yeah, it just flows in.
Brilliant. You got the right surroundings up there then, really. So.
Yeah, I'm really into nature and all that. And but I think, look, one of the things I have discovered is that I can write if I need. If I can write to order if I have to. It might not be the best
Mm.
song I've ever written, but I can. And because and I really, I haven't done any for a while. Um, I'm talking about doing some at the moment, but uh, with the Feminine Australis album, part of what I did, because it ended up it's the songs, but it's presented in a little book. I don't know if
Yeah.
you've actually seen that. Have you?
I haven't seen it. I have.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I did read about, actually, which I thought was brilliant. Yeah, sort of how it's
I should
sort of
send you the
packaged.
PDF just so you can
Yeah.
have a look at
Oh,
it.
that'd be cool. Yeah. Thank you.
Because it's basically it's got the stories, it's got the lyrics, and it's all fully illustrated. So it's like this little book, and I'm very proud of that. But I took that. So anyway, I presented that at the Somerset Celebration of Literature, which is a literary festival
Okay.
We had, you know, many authors' books, but I got to go and I did like a little solo show, the stories, you know, telling the stories, hearing the songs,
Hmm.
and I also did a creating story songs workshop.
Okay.
And then I took the show and the workshop. I did a big sort of 4-month tour of remote communities in Australia,
Yeah.
mainly running out of the schools. So and so what we did in these workshops is basically we would write a song, and we would literally start with nothing.
Yeah.
And say, okay, what's important? What do you like doing? You know, what's no? We get all the lyrics together, and then we'd sing them. We
Cool.
turn them into a song,
Cool.
and it's something that I found it's a great process, because I really believe anyone can write. You know, anyone can actually do it,
Yeah.
if they kind of understand that they can.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
It's something I do believe. Yeah, I do. I mean, I was very much like, I didn't set out to be a writer or anything like that. It did kind of, it was in me somewhere, but it just kind of happened when I just sat down and made myself do it, or gave myself the option to do it. It sounds too simple that anyone can sit down and write. Do you find, obviously knowing that, you know, you find it very natural to do that, do you find it is an easy thing to sort of teach, to convey to other people and get them to believe it? Or do you really have to kind of work at it?
totally depends on the people. It totally depends on who, and different age groups. Like you get kids at about sort of 8, and they're just amazing.
Yeah.
By the time they've got more confidence, that they're more kind of, I guess they're not so worried about judgment.
I said, they ain't got any barriers, are they? No, it's just,
yeah. But the teenagers as a group can be really hard, because they've got so much, but it's the judgment is the worrying factor. You know?
yeah.
Like I'd write songs with a class, like for instance, I worked with all these teenage girls up in Dimagi, which is right far north. It's still Queensland there. It's
Okay.
near the territory border.
Mm-hmm.
And they were great. The whole writing was absolutely brilliant. But then the teacher said to me, I don't think any will sing with you, because basically what I did then when I was doing that tour, the first song I did was always the one we'd just written.
Okay.
And so, you know, hopefully the people who wrote it would come up and perform.
Yeah, yeah.
But I was so pleased, because, like, you know, 3 of them did. It was, you know, I think there were like about 15 in the class, but the teacher had said none of them are going to perform this.
Right.
But they did. 3 of them did, and for me that was a real
success.
A real win.
Awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was a real success. You know.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, it took them quite out. You have to step out of your comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but yeah,
That's brilliant.
I think when people are encouraged to, though, when they find that, they can, it's because, as you said, look, of course, some people are going to do it much more naturally than others. But the ones who find that it can actually be natural to them, it's just something maybe they never thought they could do.
Yeah.
It's a really beautiful thing.
Yeah, just tapping into this belief in themselves and confidence as well. I think that's a big thing. I severely lack that. I would absolutely love to be able to, you know, I play guitar, I play guitar. I would absolutely love to be able, even just a pub gig or something, be able to get up and perform, but I can't do, you know, I'm comfortable enough in the house with people listening to me. I can't have anyone in front of me do it, you know, as I do it, because I'm just sort of waiting for them to sound not good enough or something like that, you know. So I thought, if I keep it to myself, it's fine. But yeah, sort of, I wouldn't say I get frustrated. I with sort of other people, when you can kind of see in them they got the potential to do something. You've got to have that belief in yourself for it to fully come out. You know.
Totally.
Yeah, but
there's
no.
a lot of people with talent who don't have the confidence to do it, or it's not what they want to do.
Yeah,
and that's completely valid.
Yeah.
Sometimes you see this talent, you think, oh my God, they could do this. You know,
yeah.
If they don't want to.
They're the kind of people I probably would be really, really envious of. You know, you could do this and you're choosing not to, you know. But there we go. another interesting point I read about yourself was it for an advert or something for Bose? You played grand piano in the crater of an extinct volcano.
Yes.
Is that as clear cut as I'm reading it there? Is that, you know, was there a bit more to it? But what a thing to say you've done again. So.
It was quite an experience. It was very great actually. I feel very lucky to have done that.
How did something like that come about?
Yeah, well, look, okay. I used to I was with a session agency in London as like a singer, and I played keyboards and stuff. And I got a phone call one day. Hey, would you like to go up for this advertisement for Bose? You know, but what it actually turned out, they had so okay. What it was actually Philips, their first CDI player, so a bit like a DVD.
Yeah.
Very like a DVD.
Okay.
And Bose Lifestyle systems, the first version of that, where you had like, you know, the bass speaker and then you've got the other speakers, right, more of a surround sound sort of thing. Those lifestyle systems that they do. Okay. It was they had got together and they wanted to do this sort of a long scale advert, and it had like, there was a Star Trek part of it, or it looked like Star Trek, though it wasn't, and you know, a few different parts. But in one of them, they basically they wanted you know, a girl playing the piano. Right. And it was supposed to be in Iceland, but then when they finally decided that they wanted me to do it, they said, "Oh, she's Australian. We need to go somewhere hotter." And so they moved it to Lanzarote. Okay. They have this, which up the less frequented end of the island. It's all sort of volcanic, and apparently they had like there was actually a restaurant there that they cook on the fire of the volcano.
Oh wow!
I was very keen to go there. Didn't get there, but it sounds so cool.
That's cool.
But they actually borrowed the grand piano from the hotel, and we had like a crew of 17 men who carried the grand piano down. That's
amazing.
Into this crater. It was all kind of, it was really amazing landscape. Amazing rocky landscape, you know. And obviously it wasn't warm there, even though there was the heat down the road.
Yeah. But thankfully not where we were.
But it was really funny, the whole thing, because I'd never done anything like that before.
Who has?
But then they brought these shoes for me to wear that didn't fit, these sort of high-heeled shoes, and I said, well, I can't, and it was very, very rocky getting down the crater.
Right.
So after the 17 men had carried the grand piano, some of them came back and carried me down. So it was really funny. Thing. Yeah,
that's amazing.
And I do have oh well, I did they did send me the original sort of CDI disc from it.
Okay.
My friend took it off the disc for me and put it on the video, and I've really I'm pretty sure I've got some of it on the DVD somewhere.
Have to track that down. Yeah. We need to see that.
Yeah, because it was pretty amazing, and I got to see it because back in London, must have been I'm trying to think. It was probably the beginning of, I think it was in 1996, the beginning of 1996. I know I went into a shop in Tottenham Court Road, and they had it playing, you know, because it was like, I guess they were selling the CDIs, and it was part of this big demonstration.
Okay.
That they had, you know, and it was pretty cool.
That's very cool.
Now we just think of that sort of stuff as old hat, but that was actually, you know,
that's very cool. No, so
the didn't take off.
A big question, I suppose, once you were actually down there, then eventually, you know, 17 of you or whatever, and the piano, how long were you, after all that effort, how long were you down there actually filming for it before you got to take it all back up again?
But I think it was 3 days of filming, but I can't believe they actually left the piano down there the whole time. But honestly, but the funniest thing was when they were finally finished and taking it back to the hotel, it had got, you know, sort of scratched up and stuff a lot. Yeah. It was a black piano, so they had all, you know, they got out what do you call them? You know, the black pens.
Yeah, it's like Sharpie sort of thing.
Yeah,
Oh, oh,
they
yeah.
coloured it in with Sharpies. and
Nobody
then,
notices. Good things
no,
there.
well, they only noticed because then they didn't notice that. But then I think somebody tried to play it that night, and they couldn't because it was completely out of tune. You know?
Oh no.
But you know,
There you
pianos
go.
are a little bit temperamental. Like
I've heard, yeah, it's not one that I've even tried my hand at, so I think I will leave that to the professionals. So it's let's bring it a little bit more up to date then, really, to what you're doing now, because I touched at the beginning of the show, much in the same way that I discovered one of my previous guests, a guy called Matt Steady. um I we get these adverts pop up on Facebook,
mhm.
um with people advertising their music and giving away free songs, EPs, whatever. I'm not going to say I always launch them because they're free. I don't do this with many. I did it with yours, and that's how I really got drawn in by your music. Is you were marketing it in that way. I've seen a lot of them do it as well now. Maybe a lockdown thing, I'm not sure. But out of everyone I've seen doing this, where you sort of give some of your music away to kind of promote yourself, you're doing something extra on it. In terms of, you've got starter packs that you do up that people can order. You've got a dedicated Facebook group. You've got a little community that you've built up, which I think is amazing. Just tell us a little bit about how, sort of how that side of the marketing came out and how the Cairns Club sort of came to be as well. I'm quite interested.
Oh gosh, well, I've kind of been looking into how to look. Okay, one of the things being an independent musician, is very hard in some ways. The worst thing is trying to get anyone to actually listen to what you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there is so much music out there, and it's very hard to sort of shift through it. But I've been delving into different kinds of kind of internet things for a number of years, but it was really well. I actually I ended up working with a group called Modern Musician, a guy
Mhm.
called Michael Walker,
Right.
and Modern Musician, and it was actually through doing, some of their workshops and finally doing their course that really helped me actually get everything into place.
Okay.
Because people can tell you how to do it, but it's like it's really hard. And what they do is like one-on-one coaching, which makes all the difference because they can actually, you still have to do, you know, everything yourself, as it were, to
Yeah.
figure it out. But if you've actually got someone who can say, well, how about you try it this way, or like actually showing you how to set it up so that when somebody gets an email and they click on this, they actually do get your EP
Yeah.
or whatever,
Yeah.
so who actually help you make it all work. But I think it's really important, and very helpful for musicians to do this sort of thing, because the way I see it, no one really has to pay for music now. Like I go
No.
on Spotify, and
Hmm.
in so many ways it's awesome for everyone. Look, my kids, as I said, I've got 4 kids,
Mm.
and they are so educated about music, and I'm talking about old music.
Okay. Yeah.
Because they have access to every song these bands have ever done.
Yeah.
And I'm I'm from the era, like I used to work in a record store, and
Yeah.
it was
Same here.
great
Yeah.
because you got to put on the records and
Yeah.
you could listen. And yeah, but it's like, otherwise, what, you heard a song on the radio, and you probably didn't have the album, but one of your friends might, and you
Yeah.
might get to hear it that way. But it was actually, I think, quite hard to actually hear everyone's music.
Yeah.
So in many ways, it's awesome because you've got this generation of people coming who have been able to explore the most incredible array of music
Mm.
to come to where they are now. So I actually think in many ways that's really great, but for the artist, it's really hard because
Yeah.
obviously you're not getting it's very hard to actually sell music. But
Yeah.
yes. So the ideas of sort of having like a starter pack, but where you can have they get like a download, and they get stickers and things that I hope people will have fun with and enjoy. guitar picks.
There you
They're
go.
my
There you
favorite.
go. I haven't got these lined up.
Even I use them.
There you go. Why not? And also, I don't put these on camera much, but you know,
Oh yeah, very cool.
especially,
The
you know,
stickers.
I'm a
That
proud
fits
member there.
perfectly there.
It does. It does.
Yeah, yeah.
It's I've got more on the wall that I can stick more on, you know. So
Yeah.
it's fantastic. You know, again, I'm not drawn to it just because it's free, because there's so many out there that are doing this. It was just that other touch that you put on it that really sort of pulled me in, and I'm glad it did, because you know I find your music is so unique. It's not one necessarily that I would just stick on as background music. I've been listening to it because I want to listen to it, you know. So the Facebook community that you got, the Cairns Club, what do you do for them? Just give everyone a bit of a flavour, because I have a feeling, hopefully, off the back of this, there'll be a few more coming through.
Yeah, great. Well, if people, but basically on my website, or on Facebook, or whatever, there's a sign up link, and you can sign up there, and then you get access to the free EP, and you also get well, you get various emails telling stories from the past and stuff, as well as information what's happening now. And but the main thing is the little Facebook group, the Cairns Club, and in there basically I go live every Friday, and sometimes I do like a new song, one I've just been writing, or because I've got like a big back catalogue of songs and I don't play them all live, and so it's great if somebody says, actually, I really like that song, I'd like to hear you do that. And sometimes it's like, oh wow, well, I've never even played that on guitar. That was like a keyboard song, and I thought,
Okay.
I might have to look up the chords and find out, and then I'll come along next week and play that one.
Cool.
So and we talk, and for instance, and we also have like I've started up like a monthly Zoom call,
Yeah.
where we've got one tomorrow night, in fact, and so there people come and we talk and I play songs, and then somebody else might play a song, or do a bit of poetry, or show some of their creative artwork or something. And yeah, it's and also I was gonna like show the possibilities of the next album cover, is something I was gonna share.
You're really sort of letting people into your world, as it were. You kind of think that when you're into someone's music, they're really not attainable. They're there, you could keep up with them on the TV or social media and that, but you really sort of almost bringing down that barrier, and you let people get to know you, and you again reciprocating that as well, which is is it?
Yeah, well, it's kind of really awesome for me too, to sort of have direct feedback. For instance, my song "Spirit," which was the last single to come out, because I've been bringing a few singles that will be on the next album, but like "Spirit," I had these two versions, and I thought, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with this one, but this is probably the single. But then I I I let people hear it. I put the link up, like a private SoundCloud link, and people went in and they heard both, and almost everyone preferred the version that I didn't think they would prefer.
Oh, okay.
Almost everyone, which is really quiet. It's just like a piano and a voice, and it's a very slow build.
Okay.
And that was the one they liked. So I thought, well, I better put that one out as the
Yeah.
single.
The majority is spoken. So
yeah. So for me as an artist, it's really great to have people that that like my music, and that are interested in like having a listen to what I'm doing, and giving a bit of feedback, and talking about it is really cool. So I love it. Yeah.
cool.
And I tend to do like sort of I usually do kind of daily posts. So like like we have a wild nature post once a week, where like I tend to put up photos of where you've been lately. If you've seen a spider or a wild wind, or something, and then tend to have an art thread where people can, often it's visual art, or like a little bit of poetry. One guy puts a lot of poetry. Stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty much daily interaction.
It's you don't find that a lot. I haven't anyway. So I you know, it's been a real breath of fresh air. So, you know, fantastic that you're doing it. Thank you. You know,
Oh, great. Well, that's
impersonate.
great to get that feedback too.
There you go.
Good.
There you go. So um before we start to wrap it up, then on the back of that, where can people find you? You know, if they want to find out more, listen to your music, or just, you know, be part of the group, whatever. Where are you online on social media?
Well, it's maryencairns.com, spelt a bit oddly, I suppose, as in MaryenCairns, .com, or you can use that as it's my handle on, you know, Facebook and Instagram and YouTube. Everywhere. It's just Maryen Cairns. So yeah,
Cool.
yeah. Come on in, have a listen, grab your free EP, and because I think to me I was really happy to do the EP, partly too because I took one song off each of my 6 albums.
Mm-hmm.
So I kind of thought, well, it really gives people, and there's different ones there. It gives
Yeah.
people a different look into all the range of styles, because
Yeah.
you know, I'm probably I suppose in the past I've always been a bit difficult to pigeonhole.
Yeah.
Because and I think it's because I come from a writing angle, you know.
Okay.
And sometimes I think I know that I'm meant to wail or something. You know? I'm supposed to wail very high and loud at that particular point. That's just what the song needs.
Yeah. Yeah.
And other times I'll just be talking like a sort
Yeah.
of rap.
Yeah.
But usually quite, you know, and everything in between. So, and I think because I come from that very much this way, and I've done quite electronic stuff, because I've used computers and music since the 80s. Like literally, I had a little ZX Spectrum with a music machine added on.
Wow.
That's how I started, because I wanted to do it myself, and that
Yeah.
was, you know, I could do my own little backing tracks and stuff that way.
You've not got someone over your shoulder. I know you've mentioned a few people over the years that are giving you feedback or whatever. You know, what are you doing? This is better, or whatever. As an independent artist, you've not got someone basically just trying to steer you in one direction. You can literally go wherever you want.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, that's cool. Cool.
I really am an independent artist. That's right.
That's great though. You know,
sometimes I'm like, oh, what should I do? Tell me what to do.
Which direction do I go in now? Have you is there anyone I suppose any time during your career, whether it was before you started out or during, is there anyone out there that you have always drawn some sort of, or the most inspiration from, in terms of your singing style, your music, your writing, anything like that?
Well, I used to say that my 3 sort of really, really big inspirations, and they really still are in so many ways, was like Bob Dylan, John Lennon, and David Bowie.
Okay, cool.
And I think that in many ways that still stands true. It's like for Bob Dylan and John Lennon, it's very much the songs.
Yeah.
It's I just love to listen to them. David Bowie, I think it's the whole, oh my God, the different characters and the way he twists his voice and he uses it. And I think that's very much why I probably, you know, at times I can be quite dramatic. And I think it's probably from that, you know, I love the way he did things. Yeah. But of course, you see, because I've got a very different voice to any of them, but not only being female, but just having a very different voice. It's like, yeah, I just don't sound anything like any of them.
No.
You know, so it's like
I must admit, when I first started listening, I got a very sort of Kate Bush vibe from a couple of yours, and then I'd listen to something else, and that wasn't there. It's very, I don't, you know, greatest respect, very odd as a listener to be able to go through someone's back catalogue and not have like a one style that carries through. I mean, it's brilliant because it kept me listening, obviously. But you know, you kind of expect that there's one sort of trait that will follow through most of it, and it was very varied. But, you know, it's what makes you stand out. So.
Oh, cool! Thanks.
Yeah, that's right.
For that. Well, that is. it's that's actually really interesting, because like one never knows, because you sound like how you sound like, and that's just how it
Yeah.
is. But it's like I think because I come from a songwriter's thing, as I said,
Yeah.
I'm sure when I'm singing high and wailing, I'm probably a lot more Kate Bush than I am when I'm telling a sort of serious story
Yeah.
or something.
Yeah.
My different windows to the world.
Yeah, that's a good way of summing it up. There you go. There you go. Right, just to finish it off, this is going to put you on the spot a little bit. It's just a question that's come to me, which I'll be really interested to know, sort of from a songwriter's perspective. If you could pick one song out there that you wish you had written, so all of your stuff aside, is there one song out there that you would? There you go. That didn't take much.
Johnny Cash's version. I know he didn't write it.
Yeah.
But that's the version. I mean, that's the most incredible song. It's got from Nine Inch Nails, isn't it?
It was, yeah. Now, Johnny Cash's version was the first one I heard. I didn't know the song from Nine Inch Nails. So.
But that is the song.
Cool. Yeah. Especially at the time of his life when you know that he did that as well. It's yeah. No, it's just like It was one of my favorites. Like I didn't know a lot about him until my favorite band at the time covered Walk the Line on their Greatest Hits album, and their version was quite different. So I hunted Johnny Cash's version out, and then it was, I think, probably around about the time that Walk the Line, the movie, came out with Joaquin Phoenix, and I
haven't even seen. It's crazy.
You need to see that.
See it.
It's amazing. It's one of my favorite films, not just because it's Johnny Cash, but he does it so well. He really does. It's definitely one to watch. But so I got quite into Johnny Cash. I bought a black guitar. I used to go to work in black trousers and a black shirt. I thought I was.
Man in black.
That's it. I thought I was there. So, but listen, thank you so much, Maryen, for coming along. This has been amazing getting to talk to you. And anyone who's listening and watching, you know where to go. I'll put all the links in there on your handles now. Pop along, have a listen, and join the crew.
That's right. Come join the Cairns Club.
Yeah, there you go.
We do have fun.
Yeah, I know I don't pop up quite as often as I want to, but I always try and chip in where I can. But it's always there. It does make me smile when it comes up. So brilliant. So thank you for everything that you're doing. Good luck with everything that you've got coming up, and the new album when it comes together, and be really cool. Especially if we get a sort of sneak peek into
Absolutely.
That's what I like. So.
Definitely have a sneak peek.
Cool. Yeah. So all the best. Hopefully speak again at some point.
Hey, I look forward to it. Thank you so much.
No worries. No problem at all. Speak to you again. Bye. Bye. If you enjoyed this episode, please take a moment to like, share, and hit the subscribe button. Also follow us on Facebook and Instagram to keep updated about all future shows.